All right, good morning. This is indeed not a presentation about tools, techniques, or a methodology, but it's a presentation on how market researchers can have an impact on business, real business. It's a case on how we as market researchers can help companies to become more consumer-centric. And there were, let's say, 3 partners in crime in this project. First of all, the client, IIeX, Martin.
Hello.
Then the advertising agency and strategy consultancy, 10 agency, Denis. And then the research partner being myself, Insights Consulting. So, guys, what was the issue that IIeX was dealing with, let's say, 2 years ago?
Well, hello. My name is Martin Blob. As a business manager, I'm responsible for the IIeX brand. And the issue 2 years ago, when I started my business at IIeX as a business manager, is that we as a company were a business-to-business company focusing on retail. And in that case, one of the questions we had was,
The question we mainly were supposed to answer at that time was that, okay, we're stuck behind the B2B. Every kitchen appliance is sold in a kitchen store where people sell kitchens, furniture, wood, hard things. And every distribution by IIeX was stuck in there. And we needed to get to the consumer because differentiating was impossible. There were large companies developing innovations on a machine level every day. More watts, more power, more functionalities, and everybody was fighting against each other. And we needed to tell a story to a new kind of consumer, a consumer that was interested in cooking. And we need to get past the retail. We need to get past the retail because the retail was just selling machines and margin. At that time, we needed a story to get into the retail of kitchens, because kitchens is something people love. It's not something tangible and very simple and theoretical. It's about love and passion. So we needed to attract them on passion. How can IIeX create a pull effect? Can you imagine walking into a kitchen store and say to the sales guy, listen, I love cooking. What kind of kitchen, what kind of appliances can you offer me? And I heard about IIeX. It's this brand that is about cooking and not about machines. That's the pull effect. That's the way we needed to differentiate at that time. But understanding cooks, not selling machines on watts and everything engineers invent, was the power to differentiate we needed there. We needed to understand these cooks and really be that brand that was not only creating the machines, but also talking to them. How can we differentiate on that? We needed to tell stories. I don't know how many people in the room would consider themselves to be a hobby chef or like cooking. Can you raise hands? Who likes cooking? Oh, wow. Fans, great. So when you like cooking, do you talk about the time it takes to boil an egg? No, you don't. You talk about travel. You talk about inviting people. You talk about your passions. You talk about that one steak you ate once in Italy on that little terrace. Those are the stories we need to invent. Those were the stories we needed to think up with. And I always say that I won the IIeX budget as an advertising agency, not because I'm a good advertising agency, but in the first place, I'm the strategist and I was a cook. And I said, I know all this thing cooks actually love. Everybody raising hands, you love cooking. If you love cooking, you tell stories. So we needed to put this cook at the center of the company. Every decision, and to a level, and we laugh a lot with it, is that you have an oven, and where you place the knob at that time is no longer decided by where the engineers want to put it. But that knob is like, when you're cooking and your hands are dirty and you want to really have it easy, how do you do that? So let's ask the cook. And I think there, the whole tripartite that's here on stage started collaborating to have this cook tell what it's about and segment these cooks. Because the only thing we had segmentation before on cooking was they like Italian kitchen and they are good cooks and bad cooks. And I think that's where.
So it's a great vision that IIeX and 10 agency came up with. Let's create, let's say, a cook-centric company. Let's make sure that we tell stories, and let's make sure that people that have a passion for cooking really want our brand. But then the real question is, how are we going to do that? And that's where research comes in. And a great way to start, let's say, the connection, the conversation with cooks is through a market research online community or consumer consulting board, as we like to call it. And we created one in Belgium and the Netherlands with 75 cooks, so people who have a real passion for cooking. And it was on for a whole year with periods of higher activity and periods of lower activity, so that we could really, when there was a question in the business, when the advertising agency had an issue, that we really could have the dialogue with those cooks. So what did we do? What did we do to help those two guys to make their, let's say, dream of a cook-centric thinking company become reality? Well, in the research community, we talked about cooking. What is it to have a passion for cooking? And how can a brand, let's say, become a brand that shows that it has a passion for cooking itself? So it was about understanding cooks and, let's say, repositioning the whole brand. Not only repositioning the brand, but also working on all the advertising material that the guys at 10 came up with and fine-tuning that together with consumers. Secondly, it was about the products, not the characteristic of the product, but what does a new oven, a cooking plate, what does it mean in the life of people? What's the thing that people do with it? What's the story around it? And next to that, it also served, let's say, as inspiration for the R&D guys at IIeX to come up with great new product ideas that were based on real insights and real consumer needs. And thirdly, it was all about, let's say, regaining the power at the shop floor, because that was the initial problem. Nobody was asking for an IIeX kitchen. So how can we make sure that not only people ask for an IIeX kitchen, but also the sales guys on the floor in those kitchen shops sell IIeX to people with a passion for cooking? So there we were looking for a segmentation that we could teach then to the sales guys so that they could connect to the people who have a real passion for cooking, that they could detect them, and that they could then tell the right story about the IIeX products to really convince them that IIeX was something for them. So, Denis, can you tell me a little bit more about how we moved from this insights into actions, into real actions for the brand, for the product, and for the retail?
Absolutely. There are two big sides to that. The one thing is, what is it all about? Everybody knows that cooking is in a big revolution for about 5 years now. We see TV shows all over the place, prime time globally. It's all about this master chef thing. And it's as if that is the way we need to communicate to cooks. Now, honestly, being a cook myself, I don't really trust and believe all these big display shows on TV. That's not about the passion for cooking. So what is this passion? How can we segment cooks? Is it about Italian cooks and Indonesian cooks and about good cooks and bad cooks? No, we really went into talking to them. Why are you cooking? What's your cooking thing? Why is your meme? Why do you come up with that? And by doing that and going into conversation, we did things like create a magazine. Instead of, with Martin, we threw out the whole catalog thing. You know, in kitchen stores, you have all these big catalogs with boring information in there. No cook is interested in that. They want to talk about what kind of cook they are. And we co-created the whole content of the magazine. So we have 2 magazines in place today in every store in the Netherlands today where IIeX is sold. And it talks about what these different kinds of cooks do. And in fact, we came into this very interesting, workable segmentation. And is that cooks are not defined by what they cook, but are defined by why they do it, why they started cooking. And in there, it's very easy for us marketeers, for the business, for the sales guys to really have a small hook and immediately attach to the passion of these people. The social cook is somebody who started cooking because he likes to have people at the house and enjoy company and talk to others. He started cooking as a means to have people at his home and have interactions and social. The fun type is a bit like knitting and about origami. It's somebody who does cooking as a more therapeutical just because of the fun of it. And a semi-pro, that's a segment everybody knows. That are the people that look up to Ferran Adria or to Heston Blumenthal and say, oh, wow, this is the rock star chefs. I want to be a rock star. And so we had this very workable thing. So we have a segmentation, great, segmentation, but we need to get into this retail. How do we get this into retail? So we actually took a segmentation exercise with 3 easy, definable, clearly differently motivated segments, and we created a 3D representation of that. 3D being that we have now convinced 17 big stores in Holland, top kitchen stores, to have what we call a cook shop in their stores. It's an 18-meter construction which is consisted out of 3 kitchen landscapes. And the coolest thing about it, of having this in a very big cook shop, is that it aren't kitchens. Everything you see in here is fake. It's like on stage for theater. So it's a whole theater setting. But within the theater setting, we have recreated from the community all these aspects about the social chef is about friends and traveling and reception and apéro and all these things around it. We reproduce that. So we reproduce 3 scapes to avoid people coming in and asking them, what kind of chef are you? Because they will not respond to that. We create stimuli the whole time, magazines, visuals, but also these real kitchen environments in which people are attracted to one or the other. And that's step 1. So people come in and say, what's that? You cannot buy this kitchen, the salesman says. You cannot buy this kitchen? No, you can't. It's about what kind of cook you are. And you find yourself attracted to one of those. Being attracted to one of those, in each kitchen there are only 3 kitchen appliances represented. Each of them is also taken into account what we call machine storytelling. So, for instance, I'm going to give one example because I can tell 100 of them. One example is if you're a social chef and you would like to be with your friends instead of standing in the kitchen doing the dishes, IIeX has a machine, the biggest dishwasher on the market. It has always been sold by saying you can put 17 total sets of dishes in there. Nobody has 17 guests over. But what you can do is do the whole cooking, slam all your pots, pans, dishes, glasses, materials in, and then sit with your audience. And we sell this thing in sales training, in store, online, by telling this story, not about the volume and the liters and the consumption. We talk about the story they tell. And that's the biggest difference, so they can see it.
So that's already great. If you want to become a cook-centric thinking company, you start a dialogue and you change things both on the brand level, the product level, and the retail. But the real question is, how can we make that the salespeople on the shop floor know what to tell? There are those great kitchens that are a visual representation of the segmentation, but then still the salesperson needs to know what to tell, what story to tell. And we believe that consumer insights can help those sales guys to tell the right story. But we also think that they need to feel it first themselves. So what do? We organized workshops for the salespeople on the shop floor together with community members to cook together so that they could directly feel the passion from those cooks and directly, let's say, hear the stories that they should tell to other people from those people. And next to that, we also organized a storytelling training. So that's great. Market research was turned into a sales training to train the frontline people to have directly an impact, let's say, on sales and on turnover. But Martin, that was not enough for you. You wanted to go one step further.
Exactly. We've built a very nice strategy, and we all, within my business team, which consists out of 4 persons, are living this strategy. We know all about the world of cooking. And one important thing, in my opinion, is the internal branding thing. So we've designed, together with Insights, a very nice consumer consultancy board internally to get everybody to know about the world of cooking, and we all want to be part of the world of cooking.
Yeah, because it's good that your sales guys know it, it's no good that management knows the strategy, but actually the whole company from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom should know what it's all about. So that's why we created this internal platform to let people internally, everybody within the whole company, all 400 IIeX employees in Belgium and the Netherlands, let them feel what passion for cooking means. In this month, in February, they all need to do 5 tasks. One of them is like cook your favorite dish and tell why that is your favorite dish. Another one is go shopping for special ingredients and tell it to the other people within the company through this platform. So by doing that, they feel that passion for cooking themselves. They feel that it's much stronger to talk about that passion for cooking to consumers than to talk about product characteristics. So they start to believe in the strategy, and they also feel that same passion. So that means in all the decisions they are going to make, they will think more consumer-centric. And it also starts a whole conversation about consumers within the whole company. And I think that's my message to the research world today. We should stop thinking that the only thing we deliver to our clients is just the insights. We can go much further together with great partners in turning insights into actions. And we should stop believing that the only thing we deliver to clients is just that piece of information, and that piece of information has only an impact on decision making. We can have an impact on company culture. We can have an impact on sales even if we turn it into a training. So let's leverage the insights, the beautiful insights that we get to the max. And to end, a couple of best practices from this type of internal, let's say, branding projects that we did in the past, not only with IIeX, but also with companies like Mars and Unilever. There are, let's say, 6 things you need to take into account. Top management need to be on board. Like for IIeX, the CEO was in his own kitchen in a video speaking to the company how important this was. You need to show what the relevance is for the company. You need to show what the relevance is for the individual, how, let's say, taking part in such an internal program will help him or her to do a better job. You need to make it fun. Gamification is also part of the platform. You need to make it convenient to participate. And finally, it's also important that you start a little internal campaign. Like at IIeX, there are a lot of posters now about this whole program. If you're curious what kind of hobby chef or what kind of cook you are, at our booth you can do a little test and you can discover what kind of chef you are. And I hope that we didn't make you too hungry because it's still an hour for lunch, but let's say share that passion for cooking during lunchtime. Thank you.